Can we start now?
Yes, we can. You can start now.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining us here in this session, IT for Society. And today we have different presentations that will basically provide different perspectives how IT can add value to the society. We have location-based services. We have the machine learning for predicting citation count. We have the data protection, and we have the also urban permanent and the information seeking. We have also the credibility of the electronic word of mouth. And finally, we have also the credit card theft using social engineering. And after that, we have the matching the applicant to the job, basically positions. So I would like to invite the first author to present his presentation. Dr. Abdulrahman Ali is here. Dr. Abdulrahman. So maybe we can have paper ID 43 ready. We just wait for 1 minute. The pre-recording, I mean.
It is ready, Doctor. دكتورة يبدو إن في technical problem هنا لحظة بس. Just a second.
I think we can start the pre-recorded video for this paper.
Okay, Doctor. Just أعطيني 1 second بس.
إن شاء الله. شكرا.
Okay, this is the file.
Okay.
ويظهر معك الصوت؟
There is no sound now.
So strange. Let me stop sharing. I think there is a problem with the video itself. No sound in it.
Okay. We can move to this. Yeah, we can move to the second paper, and if you can sort it out, Khilal, for this.
No, Doctora, from the original.
It does not have any sound.
It doesn't have any sound, unfortunately.
Okay. So we invite the second presenters. Dr. Khalid Mansour is here. Khalid Mansour.
Hello, everyone. Unfortunately, I don't think Dr. Khalid Mansour is here. I'm the third author, Bahauddin Karaki. So for our presentation, we will use the recorded one.
Okay, just hold on.
Thank you, Dr. Biha. Then yeah, we can use the recorded one.
Thank you.
Just a second, Doctora.
Inshallah.
This is the one, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
There's no sound also.
There is sound, Doctora.
Is it?
so low.
Dr. Baha, can you hear?
Yes, I can hear you, but not the voice.
Yeah, exactly.
Voice
Yeah, there's no
strange.
voice.
It's too low, يعني.
How is it now? Same?
Still the same, yeah.
Unfortunately, I cannot do anything.
Dr. Baha, can you make the presentation?
Yeah, I can do it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Just a second. So for our paper,
There is no presentation yet.
should I add it here, يعني?
The PowerPoint slides, yeah, if you have it.
Yeah. I have
Can share
the.
it.
You can share it. Share screen.
I'm not that familiar with Zoom.
You click on share screen.
Okay, wait.
And make sure it's already open. Once you click on the share screen, you can pick the window that you want to present, and then you just click on share.
Should I share it from the PowerPoint itself?
Yeah, it has to be open before you click on share screen.
Yeah, it's already open.
Then click on share screen.
Share screen.
And you get all the windows that you are opening in your computer. The different screens that you have.
I don't think I can find the share screen.
Hilal, does he have the privilege for sharing presentations?
Yes, Doctora, he has.
It is next to the raised hand, Dr. Baha. It's a green color button, share screen.
Just click on share screen and then select the file that you want to share.
Yeah.
It should be good now.
It is starting, yeah, very good.
Yes, perfect.
The floor is yours. You have 10 minutes, Dr. Baha.
Thank you so much. I'm not a doctor yet. Sorry. So for our paper, as you see from the title, it's for prediction future paper citation. It's allow us to predict the number of citation for the paper, and if it's gonna be if the paper will have a good number of citation or not, based on features we use it through the machine learning. So the objective of this paper. It's, you know, the delay on when you submit a paper in a magazine or an official website to publish your paper. So it might get delay or something. So we suggest that the magazine or the website can use a tool where they can find if the coming paper will be important in the future, and maybe they can process this paper faster than the usual. So as we see, this paper builds up a prediction model that reduce the time between submission and publication of high quality paper. The main contribution of this paper is designing an approach to predict the number of the citation for the paper and finding features that are most relevant to the future expected number of citation. So we will talk about this feature. In our paper, we used a data set from IAGIT, which is the International Arab Journal of Information Technology. We used, we take some data from IAGIT, and for one of the features, for examples for the features is the number of the researchers for the publish, and number of pages of the paper, and number of citation for the author. We used Google, we find this number from the Google Scholar, and H index and I10 index of the first author, and number of references in the paper. So as we can see here, we used for the paper features and the author features, and we also used the ResearchGate features for the university of the first author. So here we can see we used number of researchers in the paper, the one we took it from IAGIT, and the date of publishing, and number of citation, number of sites, and number of paper, how many paper for the author he used, how many paper, and number of references. And for the author itself, the citation, the total citation in and H index and I10 index from Google Scholar, and the university and the country. And we also, the third one, which is the ResearchGate features, the ResearchGate RG score and members and the publication. This is for the university of the author. Then we applied the machine learning approach, and we try to find which one suitable with our approach. Okay, so let's go here. So, as we can see from the chart, the number of references it's play the main this is the relative or the importance features. So as we can see, the most important features for our approach is the number of the references. It was the number of the references, then the number of pages. So that's mean the number of references is playing a role in the future or the number of future citation, and the number of pages, how many pages in for the paper, it's also play role for the citation in the future, and the total citation of the author also playing a very good role, the third one, and H index and I10 index is also this all for the author, as we can see. Here, so we did the features importance. It's when it's more than or equal 0, or more than or equal 5, and more than or equal 10. This is the second one. This one. Yeah. So so here, when it's more than or equal 5, as we can see, it's like still the same order, all of them in the same order, but the number of pages and the total citation of the author, they look like they're playing similar, almost similar role. This is the third experiment for having 10 or more citation. As we can see, it's still in the same order with the number of references. It is playing the most role features and for the paper. It's paper features, and the total citation, number of pages. This is the author features. So here we used the algorithm, machine learning algorithm for the prediction, and as you can see, this is the result after we applying these algorithms on our data set. So as you can read, so for our data set, we use only our from the IAGIT, the Arab Journal data set. We haven't used any other data from other resources. So maybe if we can apply this algorithms on larger data, it will give us also a very good result. and maybe the result will be different يعني. That's why we can see here they are almost يعني similar to each other, the algorithms, because the data it's good data, but it's not that large data. And maybe we can use, as I said, maybe we can use a larger data set in a future work or something. And that's it. Please, anyone, if you have any question or anything.
Thank you very much, Dr. Baha, for a very interesting presentation. Do we have any questions from the audience? Okay, one question from me. Do you think these results are applicable to the other journals? You only used one journal in your study.
Okay, Doctora. We haven't applied this approach on others, but maybe the features, it will be the same, okay? So in our result, as we can see here, we found out the number of references and number of pages, the total citation of the author, and H index and I-10 index. I don't think it will be different if we applied this approach on other journals, to be honest, because these features, we as a human, we can see if it's high for the author, that's mean whatever he will publish in the future, it might have potential opportunity or with a good citation. So maybe for me, maybe yes, it will be the same result. But if we applied it for larger data, maybe we'll see different results.
Okay, thank you, Dr. I also recommend the ranking of the references that are in the paper. The number of the references is correct. It shows that there are diversity of the content in the paper, but also they're always authors, they looked at the ranking of that reference. If it is high ranking, then they will utilize it in their papers and cite that existing paper. So I do recommend also utilizing more dimensions in your evaluation.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Thank you very much, Dr. Baha. We move to the second presentation. I would like to invite our third author, Dr. Mofid Al-Khoury is here.
Yes. Hi, everyone.
Hi. So are you going to present or are you going to use the pre-recorded?
No, I'll be presenting. I'd like to share my screen, please.
Okay, sure. Okay, so the floor is yours. Please start.
Yes, but here I'm trying to share my screen. You cannot share the screen while the other participant is sharing. So here you go. Okay, perfect. Share. Okay. So actually, my paper is focused on data protection laws and their impact. It's mainly a qualitative analysis, two big parts. The first part is related to a survey of different data protection laws, and the second part is attempting to study the impact of these data protection regulations. Of course, what I'll be doing now is just giving you highlights of the content of the paper, and the paper will contain the main information. Of course, data protection regulations started to flourish across the globe, especially with the GDPR in Europe in 2016. It created what we call now the Brussels effect throughout like promulgation of different personal protection of personal data regulation. And these are significant because with the emergence of market data, of data related to market, today we can sell and buy data on different markets through different brokers. So policy making in this regard is very important. What I'd like to do with the audience and these 5 to 10 minutes is to just compare the big approach, the European approach versus the US perspective, and then talk about the impact. From a global kind of approach or perspective, really the US approach to data protection is very different from the European one. If we take, for example, even the terminology, when we start with the terminology of data protection, in Europe, we speak about the protection, data, the protection of data protection laws. In the US, we really speak about privacy, data privacy laws. Privacy is something we can waive, we can give away. So from the terminology itself, we can directly understand the stance of each regime. Second, the data is, in Europe, it's universal. We speak about the data subject. And this subject can be a professional, a consumer, anyone can be a data subject as long as he or she creates a personal data. Where in the US, the main focus is on the consumer. Privacy protection really focus on the consumer rather than a data subject in general. And thirdly, in Europe, we have one big, if you like, comprehensive regulation, the GDPR, that applies across Europe and across all industries, whether we're dealing with banking or whether we're dealing with consumers or insurance or all industries. Whereas in the US, we have specific sectorial approach to protection. I'll touch upon this point in 1 minute. In Europe, it's a fundamental right. It's a fundamental constitutional human right, data protection. In the US, not at all. In the US, the Constitution of the US does not contain any protection of personal data. And lastly, and what I would like you to take away from these two tables is the following: the default standard in Europe. No collection and no processing of data is allowed unless there is a specific legal justification. So the principle is no processing unless it is allowed by law. In the US, it's the opposite. Most American laws in most states permit entities to collect and process personal data unless there is a specific rules that forbid a particular practice. And really, this is a different paradigm when it comes to protecting personal data. As I was mentioning, Article 8, for example, in Europe, everyone has the right to protection of personal data concerning him or her. So we have at the same ranking, at the same equal footing, the right to liberty, for example, freedom of speech and privacy with protection of personal data. Practically, what this means that under EU law, the fair processing of personal data for specified purposes is a fundamental right. The famous consent of the data subject, obtaining the consent of users and data subjects, is also a fundamental right in Europe, and also the right to access and to rectify collected data. Whereas in the US, for example, we don't have one comprehensive federal law that governs the protection. We mainly have industries. For example, we have a specific regulation that regulates securities industry or children online privacy protection or the health sector or the financial sector and so on. Actually, this sectorial approach to protection implies that the North America, or specifically the US, weights certain contexts of information privacy and certain type of data more heavily than others, leaving the user with significant gaps in data protection coverage in certain areas. In the Middle East, in the region, and in the paper, you have the I detailed various laws recently promulgated regarding this issue. But here with you today, I'll just give you some example. For example, the first law that was promulgated in the Gulf region was the Qatari law, 13/2016. We have the Bahraini law, the Egyptian law. We have also a recent in Saudi Arabia and UAE also. We have a project that might be promulgated soon in Sultanate of Oman. So all of these regulating the processing and the collection of personal data will have an impact, and the impact of these regulation is to be seen very soon in the region. Now, for the second part of the paper, I try to assess the impact of these data protection regulations, and as a kind of a waiver for everyone, what I'll be presenting now is the, if you like, the American perspective of things, the American narrative of protection of personal data. Some of these are really well developed and versed. Most of the research is undertaken by American scholars. In some European scholars and in some European research, for example, we can have different and nuanced approach to this. First, it's well known all across the globe, and even in the Gulf region, data protection will become the new competitive advantage. With new regulation, data ethics will constitute something to be proud of. Businesses will take pride of their privacy policies, of their data protection mechanism. They will say, hey, they say to everyone, I am a good company. I am keen on protecting and using fairly and notifying my user before collecting their data. So first, it's a new competitive advantage. As it is, compliance becomes not only something we should comply with, but something that we can take advantage of to position ourselves better on the market. When it comes to trade-offs, and really the question here is, what do I lose if I'm like enforcing, or what do I lose if I force my companies to comply with data protection? Some scholars claim that this data protection legislation will reverse the balance of power between the controller and the data subject, conferring to the data subjects and the users significant control over their personal data. Some scholars in this regard think that this will entail inherent trade-offs between data protection and competition and innovation. For example, and the literature gives a couple of examples. For example, the GDPR will limit competition and may exacerbate the concentration in data favoring large data controller. Or for example, it will be more difficult for companies to share data because if it's a personal data, I need the approval of the data subject and so on. So this innovation might be hindered by thickening barriers to data sharing and thus restricting data synergies that might result from data sets owned by separate entities. So sharing data and creating synergies and analytics will become more difficult if we apply data protection regulations. The third impact is cost and risk. Of course, cost, this is straightforward. Of course, every compliance in any industry will cost the company. And because we have cost, the compliance with data will be more affordable or only affordable for the big dominant players, depriving small companies from the insight the collection of data can provide. And compliance is costly because organization needs to invest in significant resources. We need to redesign the technology. We need to update the privacy policies, etc. And so it will need investment and cost, and it costs compliance with new data regulations will be costly. The third, compliance with data regulation affects market structure. Here, in this context, some scholars also said that the privacy law regulations will impact competition structure on data incentive industries. For example, like some authors published papers and studies related to showing that less diversified, the less diversity or the new firms will be disproportionately disfavored by the transactional cost of obtaining the consent of the user. If I have a law that obliges me to obtain consent of any user before sharing or processing his data, this will enhance cost, and this might not be affordable for small companies. This is why the cost of compliance with data protection regulations falls most adversely on new entrants and small firms and affect the structure of markets. And lastly, technology development. And the main question is really, will these regulations regulating the sharing of personal data or the processing of personal data, will there increase or limit technology development. And here, organization may need to re-engineer their existing systems and platforms to be able to record and map all the collection and the process of data, like data mapping. And we need new data architectures and design to store, to manage personal data. So all of this will need to change to comply with the new standards and new requirements. Also, cybersecurity and data breaches, for many other reasons, but also will become priority. Why? Because if I got my personal data breach or personal data were breached, I need to notify the data authority and so on. So it's a big deal now to have a breach of personal data from a company, and they have personal data of consumers and so on. So interestingly, these regulations opened up new markets where cybersecurity, compliance, and privacy are becoming the new commodity, very highly in demand in almost all industries. Now, there is a new sector, a new market, flourishing market of cybersecurity and data protection. Why? Because it is something that we need to comply with. Some have argued that the data protection regulations might impact significantly the development of emerging technologies, such as AI, blockchains, and cloud computing. Actually, all of these new technologies, their main fuel is data, right? So the emergence, we need data to input, output, for example, in AI. So all of these technologies rely on intensive and massive data collection to be able to feed high quality algorithm. And in this context, some researchers have considered that the new technology development might be limited or hindered by the strict data legislation regulating the collection, the handling, and the processing of personal data. If, for example, I need the approval of different user, or I need a legal justification to share with third-party personal data, and so on, all of these might be barriers for innovation. But so all of this, what I just presented is mainly the American narrative of data protection. And some scholars in Europe will go and will promote data protection, responsible data sharing. Why this? Recent papers have talked about the IOB and the IoT. The IoT, the Internet of Things, this is well known now. But the IOB, the Internet of Bodies, compliance with data protection regulations will become more important as our human bodies and things surrounding us are progressively merging with the Internet. And in this context, non-personal and personal data is at the heart of future policy making. It's really balancing between innovation on one hand and the protection of personal data on the other hand that will enable a smooth, if you like, fourth industrial revolution. I thank you for your time. I thank Professor Al-Busayli for hosting, and I'm open for questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Mofid, for your very interesting and informative presentation. Do we have any questions from the audience? Sorry. Okay, just one question. Do you think there are any implications applying the European data protection system or the American data protection system here in our region, in the Arab countries, and specifically in Oman?
Yes, very interesting question. This is what we call the extraterritorial reach of data regulation. And it's a question that we also need to answer concerning the MENA regulations. For example, does the Qatari protection regulation apply in Oman and vice versa, or do the Omani companies will need to comply with the Emirati or Saudi or Qatari regulations? Actually, let's take, and to answer your question directly, yes.
One minute, Dr. Mofid, because we're running out of time.
Yes, okay. The GDPR will apply in Oman if Omani companies are targeting the European market, basically. So yes, we will comply. We need, if Omani companies are targeting European markets, they will need to comply. They will need to get the approval of the data subject before processing or before collecting and so on. it will increase cost, it might limit, it might constitute a barrier to market and so forth. But mainly, many companies are really equipped to tackle this compliance. It's not something that we cannot overcome.
Okay, thank you very much. We would like to invite the paper number 115. Sami Abdurrahman is here. Dr. Sami Abu Saidi, sorry. Is it okay to allow Dr. Babu to present because he has some networking problem and he would like to present now? Sami?
Good morning. Yes, allowed, no problem.
Okay, thank you very much. So Dr. Suresh Babu, you can present your paper?
Yeah, I can present the paper, ma'am. Thank you so much. I'll share my screen right now.
Yeah.
And thank you, Mr. Shami. Thank you.
I would like to remind the authors, please stick to the 10 minutes. And we have the
Yes, ma'am.
The first presenter is joining us now. So we need also to save some time for him. Thank you very much.
On behalf of my author, I thank the organizing committee. Ma'am, could you hear me? Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, thank you. On behalf of my author, I thank the organizing committee for organizing this International Arab Conference, Information Technology ACIT 2021 by Department of Information Study, College of Arts and Social Science, Sultan Qaboos University, Muscat. I appreciate the effort taken by your accomplishments at your prestigious institution. This would provide a platform to share my thought on the topic, a study of factor influencing electronic word of mouth, EWOM credibility among the millennials, a case study of Chennai city. Myself, Dr. R. Suresh Babu, Assistant Professor in Commerce, Sir Tyagaraja College, Chennai, and my co-author, Dr. K. Vijaykumar Gajendran, Assistant Professor, Research Supervisor, Department of Commerce, Sir Tyagaraja College, and my other co-author, Dr. Nishad Nawaz, Assistant Professor, Kingdom University, Bahrain. I'll start my introduction. Today, internet plays an important part in our lives and has transformed our daily activities and communication with people. The internet has allowed its user to hear each other and express their interests. This interaction is transforming the manner of people in the way they communicate because we could reach others from all over the world with just one click. Internet advancement has grown and changed word of mouth, EWOM, related to the rapid progress of the internet. There has been an extreme shift in WOM communication. Particularly in the traditional WOM has developed a new form of communication where this electronic word of mouth in which online social networking has turned into a worldwide phenomena. And a major part of this everyday activities of many purchases around the globe. Along with this traditional email interaction, WhatsApp, blogs, YouTube, and social networking sites, there has been a formation of online communities where the people connect, communicate, follow current issues, and convey their viewpoints more openly and actively than even before across the world. This study indicates that third of online participants review products, frequent post positions, and participate in online content formation activities. This generation, which also relate to the millennial, the social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, WhatsApp, Instagram, and Google allows a, yes, ma'am.
Sorry for the interruption, Dr. Babu. Are you moving your presentation slides because we don't see that?
No, ma'am.
Okay, sure.
Now it's moving, ma'am?
Yeah, it's okay.
Thank you. This interact difference as well the interchange content, they have created themselves as the user generation and knowledge from the other related branches. From my introduction, the progressive increases of innovative IC technologies, which increase the development and choice of occurrence, utilize the internet population in the entire world. This type of communication technology is termed Web 2.0, including an online discussion forum, social media network, consumer review sites, weblog, due to having the two-way communication facilities where many consumers are using Web 2.0 instrument to substitute the information. With a massive increase of this online shopping among the younger generation, the marketers must maintain the review portal separately, where it helpful the customers who are interested in buying the products through an online portal, where in this area, only the minimal studies conducted on the determinants influencing this EWOM credibility, even though many studies has demonstrated where this internet penetration and the time spent online increased considerably in Chennai area. However, there are not enough studies focused on user attitude towards the electronic word of mouth. The electronic word of mouth is seen as more credible than other marketing communication since it's come directly from other consumers. This study examined the user attitudes towards the electronic word of mouth and looks at factors influencing EWOM. An online survey conducted among the internet users provided further evidence for increasing popularity of EWOM and demonstrated the power of EWOM in Chennai. The major purpose of this case study is to discover the influence of generation to accept the electronic word of mouth. Apart the vast research on the traditional word of mouth, only few have analyzed the electronic word of mouth from Chennai generation perspective. Where this result shows there is a significant relation between the tech savvy and trust towards the electronic word of mouth behavior among the generations. Practically, the result indicates that electronic word of mouth behavior via social media and mobile technology can be a part of marketing strategy to influence a buyer to increase the sale of product of a company. Where this case study attempts to enrich the understanding of electronic word of mouth behavior via social media and mobile technology among generations in the Chennai context. The objective of the study is to determine the electronic word of mouth credibility factors, namely quantity, logic calculations, Polaris sources, and prior knowledge and expertise influence the electronic word of mouth credibility among the millennial in Chennai. Research methodology, where the study is the purpose to determine the, yes ma'am.
My apology for the interruption again. I don't see your slides moving. It's stuck in the first cover page.
Oh, it was stuck in the first itself.
Yeah. Are you moving it? Because it's not
Yeah.
moved.
Yeah, I have moved, ma'am. It's moved now. It's showing research methodology and data analysis.
What about the audience, Hilal?
Objectives.
It's not moving.
Yeah, it's moving, ma'am. Whether it's moving to you?
No, it's not.
No, well, I
No?
think what you need, just cancel this sharing.
Okay. I will do one thing.
Share the show, not share the file. The show. Make show for the presentation and then share it. Okay, now go on show. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Now you can see my sharing it. It shows objective.
We can do. Thank you.
It's moving.
Yes, it's moving. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, there is research methodology. This study purposes to examine whether the determinants influencing the EWOM credibility among the millennial. The study used both primary and secondary data. Where this secondary data obtained from the earlier publication in research papers, magazine, articles, and textbook related to electron WOM credibility. The primary data accumulated from the millennial who is aware of the EWOM credibility. The questionnaire was designed to evaluate the EWOM credibility of millennial based on the independent variables identified during the secondary research. The questionnaire include your demographic questions about the respondent gender category, age group, marital status, annual income, and education background. The second part of the questionnaire includes the questionnaire to electronic WOM, where the data collected through the development of a structured questionnaire, a sample of 1,000 millennials in Chennai city. The millennial were chosen randomly throughout Chennai city and in different sectors. The millennial were trained correctly about all the questions in the questionnaire. Each of those millennial was instructed to survey the target respondent. Before beginning the survey, the respondents were asked whether they have any internet connection at home and whether they purchased anything through the internet. The survey was continued with the millennial was positively answered these two questions. Among the millennial, the majority of them use the internet on the mobile phone. Among the 1,000 delivered questions, data from 783 questionnaires were finally usable. The responses are used for the final study. After completing the survey, the data were entered in the Excel sheet. The data was analyzed using SPSS 21.0. The study used simple frequency distribution and multiple regression analysis. By analyzing the regression analysis and the data dependent variables as electronic word of mouth credibility, where the model result indicates the coefficient of X1 is 0.169, which characterizes the partial result of quality on EWOM credibility. The model result is positive indication involves such effect is optimistic that EWOM credibility would rise by 0.169 for each unit, rise in quality and is significant at a 1%. The X2 is 0.126, signifies the partial outcome of polarity on EWOM credibility. It indicates a positive indication, imply that such effect in optimistic that EWOM credibility would rise by 0.126 for each unit in increase in polarity, and it's significant at 1%. Where the X3, X4, and X5, all the characteristics were the fractional effect of prior knowledge and expertise on EWM credibility, which indicates a positive sign, specify that such effect in encouraging the electronic word of mouth credibility would rise by 0.097 for each unit increase in the prior knowledge and expertise, and is significant at 1%, where the model result support the information that factors, namely quality, polarity, logic and articulations, sources, prior knowledge, and expertise seems to have much significance for the millennial. Particularly, the capacity of electronic word of mouth and the sources of electronic word of mouth are possible to allocate the post-purchase understanding, and millennials are well attentive to the information that all the sources of electronic word of mouth do not bear the similar trustworthiness. The study originates that the factor are significantly influencing the EWOM credibility among the millennial. The model R value is 0.743, which determine the affiliation among the actual and predicted values. The predicted values are acquired as a linear grouping of quality X1, polarity X2, logic and articulation X3, sources X4, expertise X5, and R value of 0.743 specify that strong association among EWOM credibility and the 5 independent variables, namely quality, polarity, logic and articulation, sources and prior knowledge, and expertise is fairly strong and optimistic. The R2 computes the GOF, that is fit of the mode of the estimation. SRP is the expression of percentage of disparity in the dependent variables, illustrated by the fixed sample regression equation. Therefore, the R2 is 0.552, purely means 55.2% of disparity in electronic word of mouth credibility. By the estimate SRP and the prior knowledge and expertise as independent variables, and R2 is significant at 1%. Now I'm coming to the implication and conclusions directly. With the upshot, popularity of usage online social media application was currently gaining rapid importance, where the current study elaborated more on influences of tech savvy and trust on electronic word of mouth among millennials in Chennai. This is to enrich the understanding of electronic word of mouth behavior via social media and mobile technology among the generation within the Chennai context. The case study could be quite operative in helping a customer to make decision about their purchasing. You should be introducing to digital content and technology that understand the consumer behavior to foster the decision-making process through a user-friendly interface by giving information related to the product, promotion, and new arrivals. The issue of how to effectively design and deploy social media platform in this approach is most certainly an additional further research direction. It is clear that social media platform offer companies many opportunity to interact with consumer along with the entire decision-making process. The policymaker should increasingly put emphasis on tech savvy and trust influences electronic word of mouth efficiently. As a social media application used by everyone around the world, electronic word of mouth tend to spread to everyone who intend to review the pre-purchase of desired goods and services which improvise the social media application in Chennai should be enhanced. The study finding assists in a superior understanding of personality of millennial reaction towards the recognition of electronic word of mouth. It has high importance in the contemporary times since by the successfully using EWOM, a salesperson can accomplish numerous of the marketing purposes in a speedy and useful manner. In overall, the factors namely quality, polarity, logic and articulation, sources and prior knowledge and expertise are significantly which influence towards the electronic word of mouth credibility among the millennials. Thank you all for your patience listening of my paper presentation. Once again, I thank you all, and thank you, Mr. Sham, to give your time to present my papers also. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank
Babu, for the presentation. It's very interesting. Do we have any question from the audience? Okay, my question is that have you assessed the intercorrelation between these factors that you are investigating? Because I can see that the quality can very much be related with the source.
Yes, ma'am, I've assessed the coefficient, what you say there. It analyzes the effective design and deploy the social media platforms, where it approaches towards the additional research directions, where it clearly indicates the social platforms like a tech savvy and which trusted to influence electronic word of mouth.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you,
for
ma'am.
your
Thank you
input.
so much.
I would like to invite the following author, Sami Abu Said is here, Dr. Sami. I think you asked for the pre-recorded video, so Hilal, if you can run it. Is that still
Okay.
correct?
Yeah, just give me a second.
Okay, sure.
Okay, start now.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hello everybody, how are you today?
صوت
You
واضح
are
دكتورة؟
feeling good.
Yeah, it's
My
clear.
name is
Thank you.
Sami Saidi, master student in the Department of Information Study at Sultan Qaboos University. And today I will talk in my presentation about information seeking behavior of member of Omani Parliament. I hope you will like my presentation. Firstly, I will give you a quick background review about my study. The Omani Parliament experience is recent comparing to some international Parliament experience. So it was not facing too much evaluation and study in some area, including the field of the information seeking behavior of the member. For that reason, this research shedding light on the information seeking behavior of the member of the Omani Parliament Shura Council. As for the statement of the problem, despite a very important role of information in the parliament life, the academic studies in Oman did not search for the need and the behavior of the parliament life and the information seeking behavior of the member. So the study is seeking to address this knowledge gap through its findings by answering 6 research questions, and I will explain the objective of this research in second slide. As for the research designing and methodology, this study adopted the qualitative approach to achieve its goals through the semi-structured interview with 28 members out of the 86 members of the Shura Council in Sultanate of Oman. This slide shows objective of my research is to, number 1, what are the reasons to search for information by the Omani members? Number 2, how do the Omani members obtain information for their parliament work? Number 3, what the source of information used and the format of information preferred by Omani members? Number 4, do the Omani members use the Parliament Library and the Department of Information to satisfy their information need? Number 5, how the Omani members use the information? Number 6, what the challenges encountered by the Omani members in getting information? Now I will give you quick summary about literature review. On this part of research section, we'll present the literature review for 5 axes that matching with my research objectives, which are as follows. First one, reason and motivation to search information, to legislative legal work and follow-up to local issue. Methods used to obtain information by request the assistance from the specialist of information to search for information in all sources, self-searching in the internet, and use the personal connect. The source of information, international report, annual government report, newspaper, radio and television, electronic resource, and use the internet. In this part, do the members of the parliament use the parliament library to satisfy their information need? In this part, there are a different view of the library as the source of information. Last one, the challenge encountering by the members to get information. Number one, withholding information from the government, lack knowledge about foreign language, lack of information available in the parliament library, and lack of this is my research model or research plan. First one, I searched the literature review and summarized it. Number two, I wrote my research plan. Number three, selected participate. I interviewed 28 Omani members out of 86. Number four, I finished the data collection. Number five, data analyze with the in vivo 11. Number six, I wrote the conceptual and theoretical. Number seven, I wrote the findings. Okay, now the finding of my study, information seeking behavior of Omani members. The reason and motivation to search information by the member to support parliament work, to parliament tools, follow-up of LECO issue. These findings concur with some studies, Assawi in Egypt, Mansour al-Kharigi in Kuwait, and Hussein in Bangladesh parliaments. Obtain information by internet, information service department, ask the staff of ministry, and use the personal relation. And also this findings concur with Mustard and Urchil in South Africa and Osman and Igli in Malaysia. The Omani members use government statistics report, laws, daily newspapers, social media, research of the Shura Council community for their parliament's work. About use the parliament library and department information. No Omani members rely on the parliament library as the source of information. But in construct, all the members rely on the information department for their work. This findings concur with Mansour al-Kharigi in Kuwait and Chandra Barkish in Parliament of India. I will continue with my findings. How the Omani members use the information to do parliament tools, discuss ministries, write official letters, preparing for the meetings, and everything related to the work in the Shura Council. Last one was the challenge facing of Omani members. First one, withholding information from the government, administrative producers, and lack of time. And next findings concur with Tahtah in Morocco, Mansour al-Kharigi in Parliament of Kuwait. Finally, the recommendation of my studies. First one, the Parliament library service should be developed, especially on the digital side. Number two, promoting connectivity and access between the Shura Council and the Ministry. Number three, Shura Council should be administer the Right of Information Act. Number four, the General Secretariat of Shura Council should be contracted training season for the members on the methods of search in e-resource. Thank you. This is my presentation. I hope your findings interesting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sami, for the very informative presentation. Any question from the audience? Sami, I think you have a really very wide, I know you are a master student and then this is must be part of your thesis, but you do have wide number of questions and you have also multiple sources for your data collection. How did you integrate all these different sources? You have documents and you have interviews and are you with me, Sami?
Yes. Sorry, but I have some few. My data tools, I used semi-structured interview and connect analyze of some documents in Pure Council. It's clear?
Yeah, it's your voice. Okay, we wish you all the best. I have also a master student who is doing also in the Majlis Shura, and it will be very interesting if you do have, I know this is master, but it will be very interesting if you can include more basically of the public policy making organizations from the region, from the other countries. We wish you all the best, inshallah, Sami.
Thank you very much.
I think Doctora will move to the next. Doctor, are you going to call the next paper?
Okay, sorry, I thought that my voice sounds like it was muted, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know why.
Okay, now it's just noticed when I got the notification. So again, yeah, paper 129 said that you cannot run it, right?
Yeah, I don't have the video for
Yes.
120.
So I was inviting Dr. Ziad Al Jamal, but because I was muted, so I thought maybe he did not hear me. Dr. Ziad, are you here?
Yes, thank you. We start.
Yeah, you can start sharing the screen.
You can see my screen now, right?
Yeah.
So hello everyone, my name is Ziad, and today I'm going to present you our work matching applicants with position for better allocation of employees in the job market. So this was part of our graduation project from Istanbul Medipol University, Department of Computer Engineering. So our content is, first we will go through our introduction, and then we will have a review. Then I will describe our proposed system and its architecture, followed by the analysis and implementation details. Then I will show some results, and we will finish with the future work. So to start with the introduction, nowadays the internet is widely used in employment process. So the process of applying for a job using the internet is time-consuming process. And with the upcoming recession and increased rate of unemployment, number of applications will be huge per position. So by screening all these applications and filtering them, we put a significant strain on human resources, and that's where a job matching system becomes useful. So we can identify a job matching system as a system that matches candidates to jobs based on a number of factors, making the screening process much easier for recruiters and other hiring authorities. Now for the problem definition, in this process, we can identify two main problems, which are the screening problem and the recommendation problem. So in the screening problem is how can we efficiently screen and filter a massive amount of applications in a limited time to produce a short list of the most suitable candidates. And in the recommendation problem, it's how we can recommend the right job for the right people. Next, for the review. In order to deal with these two problems, the screening and the recommendation problem, many techniques and implementation were used. We will cover the main categories of these implementations. So for the screening problem, we have three main categories or techniques, which are the Boolean search technique, the information extraction techniques, and the machine learning technique. And for the recommendation problem, we have four main categories. They are the content-based recommender and the collaborative filtering recommenders and the knowledge-based recommenders and the hybrid recommenders. Now we'll go over our proposed system. So we aim to provide an automated process for recruiting assistants in the form of assessment of the set of candidates for a given job. And that is by automatically selecting the most suitable candidates' resumes and eliminate non-suitable ones. So we end up with a smaller pool of ranked candidates. And also we aim to provide a database that contains a set of resumes and their analysis, which will help recruiters in finding appropriate employees for future open positions. So as you can see on the right is the block diagram for our proposed system. We start by the crawler that collects job posting from websites and job portals such as Indeed.com. And from the right, we have the CV dataset. They are both sent to the NLP module, which extract information out of them, such as skills and experience. And this extracted information is then cleaned and pre-processed before being sent to the matching and scoring module, which will give will match them and give a score for each job CV pair. And we can, after that, rank all these scores and provide the recruiter with a report containing the best match for a specific job. So now for the analysis and implementation. First, in the scraping phase, based on our analysis, we decided to use some Python libraries like Beautiful Soup, Pandas, and Requests, which will allow us to collect job postings. And we decided to target a specific website, Indeed.com, and based on its structure, we could extract some information like the job description, the job title, the location, and the company name. And of course, the output of this stage is the CSV file that we will be able to use later in the NLP phase. So in the natural language processing, we tested some NLP tools like Stanford and TextPro at Spacey. And based on that, we decided to train the NER process using Spacey, which allow users to train the NER model to auto-detect new entities, such as skills, experience, locations. So the result of this training process will give us two trained NLP models. One is will be dealing with the job postings, and the other one is used for the CVs. Now, as for the after we collect the features from or the entities from the CV and the job posting, we do some cleaning and pre-processing for the extracted information or entities, and then they are sent to the matching and scoring. So in general, for a job posting, we find how much each of its component would match the corresponding component in each CV. And we will produce a final score to rank CVs, and according to that, we decide on which one are the best match for the job. So first, we calculate similarity between each two corresponding categories in the job CV pair, and then we use spaCy similarity function, which normally would take two objects and predict how much similar they are. So as you can see, we use this function to derive the score for each component, and the final score is the sum of all the score that we get for the categories. And we have here on the right an example on how the matching function or the similarity function works. So on total match, it gives you 1, and this value would vary depending on how much similar they are. So after that, now we will go over some results of our system. So as we said, the scripting is a CSV file containing the job title, the organization, the GPE, and the description. And then for the natural language processing, after we use the two models that were trained, we were able to extract new entities and the information that we need. In our case, the most important ones are the experience and the skills. So on the right, we have an example of a part of the extracted entities from a job description, and on the left from a CV. So for the matching and scoring, we have for a certain job, this process would normally result in a dictionary, like the one on the right, showing all the final score for each CV against this specific job. And the same process can be done, of course, considering multiple jobs against one CV. And finally, the ranking, we just use the obtained scores, and we rank them in a table showing the best candidates for the job at the top and the less suitable one at the end. And in the reporting phase, we just present a table to the recruiter containing a summary of all the credentials of the best ranking CV for the job. And based on our system, the overall accuracy was found to be 83%. And finally, we end with the future work. So this project can be started by guiding applicants who wants to apply for a specific job, showing them all the required skills and knowledge they need, and providing them with a summarized document of all needed resources and references. And that's all. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ziad, for the presentation. It's very interesting. I'm just wondering, because you have listed different techniques at the beginning, have you utilized only one technique, or is it you applied multiple techniques to assess the matching between the applicant credentials and the posted job?
Well, what we used first basically is that we tried to extract the most important features. For example, we extracted the skills and the experience, and based on this, we would use them using the similarity function, which gives a score for each word inside the extracted data.
Mm-hmm. So is there any limitation with the existing methodology that you think other methodology can be providing better accuracy rather than the 80-30%?
Well, basically, the other methodologies, some of them, of course, give better results, but there is like a complexity trade-off here. So what we try to do in the future is, instead of just focusing on skills and experience, no, we want to focus more on other aspects, as our NER's model extract them already. So we might, for example, include the education, include the location and other aspects as we go on.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
I think we have the first author here, Abdurrahman. Dr. Abdurrahman is here. So you can start your presentation if you would like to present, because your pre-recorded video has been sound. Yeah.
Yes. As I am here.
Dr. Abdurrahman, I think there is some noise with your voice.
Okay.
You can meanwhile also start to present and share your presentation. I think your mic is mute. Dr. Abdurrahman, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you for inviting me to this presentation. This is the Organization Committee International Arab Conference. Thank you for that. This is my paper title called Location-Based Services Protection via the Multi-Layered System. Okay, so this is just the system which the people are sharing with whatever they want through the mobile system, through the multi-layer system. We are introducing such a system which is related this work. We have secured the location based on authentication services and protecting the privacy user information, continuous location based on services, multi-layer protection for the query location anonymization, and this improvement and the result and conclusion includes in this session. So now the introduction. Location-based services have gained a popularity by providing the personalization services to an ever increasing the number of mobile phone users. So, for example, most of the people are using the mobile phone as a technology and sharing the information between the one mobile to another mobile. In this case, we have to protect what the information is sharing by each others. So this is our best solution for the protection. So what are the risks associated with this LBSS? The major risk is the privacy issue. So most of the people are sharing the information from one mobile to another mobile. So the personal information they want to store in their mobile, and the other information they want to store in the server, public server. So the collaboration use of the mobile devices application and the GPS enable user automatically open the personal information in the current location everyone wants to share about it. Okay, so this consequently, user privacy became the weaker, coupled with the growth of number of hackers attacks the user via the mobile phone using technology. So what does the risk of LBS mean for the technology? The risk discourages the increasingly number of users to avoid using the technology, and they are afraid of taking their personal information into the global network. So because of the main idea of the user, they doesn't want to share the personal information with the public user. So this kind of information can be protected or not. That is what we want to use in this paper to how to protect the through the multi-layer systems. So what are the being done overcome this risk? Some models have proposed to counter the risk associated with the LBS, which is include the dummy nodes they are using, the blind signature method they are using, silent method they are using, and anonymity, k-anonymity method they are using. Current method is we are using is the main dummy nodes. Addition to the dummy nodes, the main idea of the protection method is to send the false position data to the current user locations of the service provider. These dummies does not have any effect to speed and quality of the LBS work. This is one of the main thing. And when dummy nodes are added,
sorry for the interruption. Can you click on the display? Some audience are asking for maximizing. Yeah. Okay, great.
Okay, so now it's okay. So when dummy nodes are added, it creates a kind of noise. So in this way, the person wants to steal the user the private data will be confused to trying to get the location information, because of sending the information will consist of the nodes movements. So when the node movements passing from one to one, it's easy to hack the information by the hackers. So the blind signature method, okay, it's a cryptographic techniques that works for the authentication that is performed anonymously and some of unknown the pseudonyms. Okay, this method replaces real user identification by the anonymous and identification that generated by the system. The silent method, this is also works with the pseudonyms and the other words, it's performed anonymously of some unknown new synonym. In this method, we user do not transmit any data. Okay, it's silent. It's called a silent method. The user can get protected by mixing with other user during this period. Okay, the silent method consists of two periods. One is constant, another one is the variable one. The concept of the k-anonymity is the main idea of this point, to keep record the data useful and access while the person privacy is to be protected. This method makes data to be separate with the particular user, completely different from the other user. And the data user location, when the request was sent by the one user, then the other case, the method able to change or remove the synonyms to make the wider location. In the other end, it can be the code decoded with the format. And unfortunately, the method has also some problem relating the preceding the location as the result. Provider cannot calculate the exact location of the user. This is the one of the disadvantage of this method. This issue can be solved by upgrading the k-anonymity procedure algorithm. The solution, what is the solution we given to this paper? Firstly, the multi-layer system we are giving the which involves the several protections of the level. The main idea of using the cache to answer LBS user queries. So under the circumstances, it gives the unique possibility to protect your data, because in this way the LBS provider would have a live and actual update from the user mobile device. I propose system, this is called a typical hybrid system. So this is a hybrid system which combines the all methods of the conclusion of the paper. The first, we have the advantages of our solution is the user have the ability to change the setting when they want to convey the message from, or when they want to send the message from one place to the another place. So accordingly, the user can change the settings. Secondly, the control of number of the information that can be in public. That which is the key code we are using. Moment the storage user private information in order to give the better protection. So user, the last one is the user becomes the responsible for the protection for his data. So conceptual framework for our solution, the model involves creation of multi-layered system that which include a wide variety of principal key function in order to protect the LBS user data, self data. This is a hybrid system. Since it's an hybrid system, information can be stored in the server and the mobile devices. So the user can decide what information they want to store in the server and what information they want to store in the mobile device. After storing the data, the user can still determine which data to make it public. So this, by all the information, this depends upon the user, which is. So the related works treat the privacy remain the biggest issue in the location-based system. So consequently, the number of researchers have come up with the interesting solution. The solution which is include the secure push, which is location-based authentication service, indoor semantic location model for location-based service, and hybrid techniques private location-based queries with database protection, and achievement efficient query privacy for location-based service. Privacy protection for user of location-based services. Protecting privacy user information continuous location on based service, multi-layer partition for query location anonymization. So this is secure push. So this location-based authentication service. So in this case, we have to access the location-based service which is regulated by the place and the specific geographical position via the security policy. It's structurally consists of multi-layer switches. It also provides the mobile authentication methods. The main thing is the technology user can manage his shared data from the mobile device. So the
Dr. Abdurrahman, there is no sound.
يبدو انه حصل عندنا اشكال تقني دكتوره. نلغي الشيرنج.
طيب.
عندك المايك دكتوره. في اللي هو ال 129 دكتوره لسه.
عفوا ايش الاخ هلال؟
اللي هو 129 اعتقد. مجدي، دكتور مجدي.
حاليا الدكتور عبد الرحمن. أعتقد the only paper that are not presented is 129 is which is the credit card theft using social engineering. Is any of the authors here? Okay, in that case, I think this is the end of our session. I would like to thank the authors for their very interesting and informative presentation and wish them all the best. And I would like to thank our audience also for their.
Wait, Doctora.
Mhm.
Wait, Doctora. Dr. Ahmed is here, he said. But everyone, sorry. Sorry for interruption. Oh, there's a message.
Is he here?
Yeah, yeah. Could you raise your hand, please? Okay. Okay, please click on join. Okay, he is here, Doctor. Dr. Ahmed.
السلام عليكم دكتور أحمد.
السلام عليكم. السلام عليكم، تسمعوني؟
أيوة،
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, shall I start?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, inshallah. Apologies, it's just if there's any noise in the background. Okay. We'll try to make it quick, yet informative, inshallah. So, it's me, Dr. Ahmed Shheber, and I come from the College of Technological Innovation from Zayed University, along with my...
Yeah.
Doctor,
Yeah.
show, please click on the show.
Hilal, is
Sorry?
this?
Click on the show. Click on the show. Make show. يعني عرض الشرايح دكتور.
Which paper is this, Dr. Ahmed? Number?
Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay.
Dr. Ahmed, what is the number of the paper?
It is, I believe, 219.
Oh, because I have different titles, so this is why I'm a little bit surprised.
My apologies.
This is session.
Yeah. Please go ahead, yeah.
Shall I?
Yeah, sure.
Maybe, Doctor, he is different session, Doctora.
Yeah, because even his name is not in the authors here.
You are in session 4, Doctor?
Session, yeah, session 4, I think.
Please
One
check.
Okay.
The paper I have 129 is
So it's here.
sorry.
Yeah, under Professor Naima. So yeah.
So it is 5, not this one, Doctor.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Okay, so shall I go there or shall I present it here?
I think it's better to go there.
Okay. The problem that I tried to click over there, but it wasn't allowing me to end, so that's why I thought it's here. Or that.
No, yeah, they had technical issue, but they fixed it now. You can go there and
Okay.
there.
Okay, so use the other link. Thank you. I'll take him off.
We are sorry about that.
No worries, no worries. My apologies.
Okay, so once again, thank you very much for your interesting and informative presentation, and I'd like to thank the audience also here. So have a good day and stay safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank